Is Treasurer Josh Frydenberg. Treasurer, good morning to you. Thanks so much for joining us. So you've got this expanded loan scheme, which is 4 times the previous cap. Is that because the original take-up was so low, or because you expect the economic situation to worsen?
Well, this announcement today is great news for 3.5 million small businesses across the nation. They're going to get access to more money for a longer period at lower rates. And it reflects the fact that small businesses are the backbone of our economy, Pete. They're going to be a key part of our recovery. When we initially put this program in place, it was confined to loans for the use of working capital. We're now extending the purpose of those loans to also include investment by businesses, whether it's a fit out, whether it's new machinery or some other investment that the business needs to make to grow. And this will really be important for the economy. I'm noting already that some 15,500 small businesses have used this program to take out $1.5 billion worth of loans.
But there's only one, like you mentioned there, just $1.5 billion was originally taken out of $40 billion that was set aside. So why was it such a slow take-up?
Well, this was announced pre-JobKeeper, and as I said, it was confined to working capital. We're now expanding the use for which the money can be put, but we're also expanding the period for which the loan goes for, so from 3 years to 5 years, as well as increasing it from $250,000 loans up to $1 million loans. But 15,500 businesses have already benefited from this scheme, so it is playing an important role in keeping the flow of credit going to the economy.
Well, despite the 50% guarantee that the government is providing, though, aren't you luring businesses into a credit trap?
Well, businesses need credit. It's just a function of their operations, and they will obviously go and see their bank and they will take out loans for the purposes of growing. Now, they have to take that assessment of the risks. The banks will also take the assessment of the risks, and hopefully the loans will flow from that.
Your economic update coming up Thursday. Have you finished that, Treasurer, or are you still tweaking?
Oh, no, it's gone to the printers. The economic update is going to be an extensive document. It will include the range of measures that the government has announced since the mid-year economic and fiscal outlook at the end of last year, as well as the economic forecast for the years ahead.
OK, now there's a bit reported today about this tiered payment system that will be coming. Can you explain the concept of that? Is that to suggest that there'll be different amounts of money for different sectors?
Well, as you know, this has been the single largest one-off economic measure that the Australian government has ever undertaken. Some $70 billion. The JobKeeper program is supporting some 3.5 million workers and around 900,000 businesses. It was critical that we got that money out as quickly as possible so that people could get through the coronavirus crisis that we're currently in. Now, one of the outcomes of that is that some people under the program received more money in the form of this $1,500 flat payment than they were receiving prior to the crisis, and that's been one of the issues that we have looked at as a government and talked to Treasury about, and it's been the subject of their review as well. And what you'll see in this next wave of income support from the government is some modifications reflecting changes such as those.
So it'll be say aviation, tourism that continues to receive, and help me out here, a $1,500 payment per fortnight, and other sectors will receive less.
Pete, I'll leave speculation to you. What I'm saying this morning is that there is going to be another phase of income support. There will be some modifications to what has been in place to date, but importantly, what we recognise is that the people who need that support will be getting it, and the government's been there right throughout this crisis. As you know, we've committed some $260 billion to a range of economic support measures, whether it's $750 cash payments to pensioners and carers, or whether it's business investment incentives, or whether it's a cash flow boost, or whether it's the JobKeeper program and the Jobseeker program. The government has undertaken a whole range of measures which has provided not just an economic boost to the nation, but a psychological boost as well.
Will this new update kill off so-called zombie businesses?
Well, we're hoping to help as many businesses as we can, recognising that some businesses won't survive the coronavirus crisis. That's a reality, a very harsh reality. But what we want to do is give businesses their best possible chance to get to the other side. We recognise that a lot of businesses that are struggling to survive right now will be viable once we're through the coronavirus period, and they're the businesses that we're seeking to help.
And the extension, the JobKeeper extension, will that be 6 months? What's the time frame that you're looking at here for help? Because that's what unions are calling for.
Well, look, there's a lot of people who are making a lot of commentary. My job and the Prime Minister's job and the Finance Minister's job are to make these decisions and to implement them, and that's what we have done, and that's what we will continue to do. And you'll have to just wait for later in the week for those announcements.
Well, the total debt's going to exceed $1 trillion, isn't it?
Well, debt is increasing, and as you know, that's a function of the massive spending that we have undertaken. But importantly, we went into this crisis with a lower debt to GDP ratio than many other comparable countries, around 20% debt to GDP, which was a quarter of that in the UK and a quarter of that in the United States, and about 1/7 of that in Japan. So it's actually enabled us to have the financial firepower to spend through this crisis. We'll provide an update on Thursday as to the debt and deficit levels, but as you can understand, they have increased, as they have for every other country around the world.
Okay, just on Jobseeker, will it be going back to $40 a day? Are you going to give me anything there?
Well, again, with Jobseeker, we recognise that there are more people needing that income support at the current time. We'll be making announcements later this week, but we have, again, tried to cushion the blow for those who have found themselves on hard times. But what we also recognise is that the economy is starting to open up. We don't want to dull the incentives for people to get back into work. And outside of Victoria, many people are getting back to work, and that's a very positive development. That was reflected in the most recent jobs figures, which showed that 210,000 people had found a job, of which 60% were women and around 50% were young people. They were positive numbers, and we hope that trend continues.
Just finally, Treasurer, have you got a mask?
I certainly do, and had it on this morning, and we'll have it on later today.
Do you feel like it's necessary? Do you think it's necessary to have masks mandatory?
Here in Victoria, I do. We're seeing significant community transmission, and obviously, not in all circumstances can you safely socially distance. And in those cases, you certainly want everyone wearing a mask. So I think it is prudent that in Victoria, masks are being worn, and what we need to do is flatten out that curve. It's going to take a huge effort from the public here. But as for other states, they will be decisions that their chief medical officers and governments take.
Okay, Treasurer Josh Frydenberg, thanks for your time this morning as always. Chat to you soon.
Thanks, Pete.